If you've ever rolled your eyes or scratched your head when someone called Pinterest a business strategy, give me 30 minutes to change your mind. Today, I'm breaking down 10 myths that are holding creators and business owners back and showing you what actually works on Pinterest in 2025. I'm Jenna Kutcher, your host of the Goal Digger podcast. I escaped the corporate world at the age of 23 with nothing more than a $300 camera from Craigslist and a dream. Now I'm running a 7-figure online business that feels even better than it looks, all from my house in small town Minnesota with my family. Here, we value time as our currency. We mix the woo and the work, and we are in the pursuit of building businesses that give us the freedom to live lives that we love. I've always loved turning big goals into reality, and I'm here to help you do the same. This isn't just a peek behind the curtain. Come along with me and my guests as we tear the whole curtain down. Every week, we tackle practical, no-fluff marketing strategies and host honest discussions on what works and what doesn't. Join me and my expert guests for actionable insights to help you grow your dream business with confidence. Pull up a seat and get ready to be challenged, inspired, and empowered. This is the Goal Digger podcast. There's kind of this joke for all the people that are really close to me, and it's honestly not really a joke, it's real, is that I never leave my house. I could go an entire week without ever leaving my house and not feel constrained. I love where we live. I love our land. I love my garden. I love my chickens and my dogs. I never want to leave the house. And I have basically built an entire business from my laptop in my leggings. And I just love being home and doing what I do with my people and with my work. But recently I did something rare. I actually left home and I spoke at a live event. And somewhere between the whole welcome Jenna Kutcher to the stage and the Q&A, things got so interesting. So my friend that was hosting the event, he first introduced me as a social media expert. And before I could even stop myself, I interrupted and said, "I'm so sorry, but I actually don't like social media." You could basically hear a pin drop, but that moment opened the door to one of the realest conversations I had on stage. And that ended up being basically myth busting everything people assume about Pinterest. The questions were rolling in isn't that for weddings and recipes? Does it work in 2025? Don't you need a massive following? And honestly, I welcomed in those hesitations because at one time or another, I probably believed them too. Before I ever used Pinterest strategically to drive traffic, I was using it for my dream closet and future home. It hadn't even occurred to me that it could be a business tool until I sat down with my first ever virtual assistant and she asked me, "How are you using Pinterest?" And I realized she wasn't just asking me, "How pretty are your boards?" but "How are you using it to drive traffic to your work?" That moment flipped the switch. And so today I am myth busting the most common Pinterest misconceptions so that we can finally unlock its true potential for both traffic and conversions. And I do have to note, this episode is created in partnership with Pinterest. I am one of their featured educators, which is the biggest honor since I've been teaching this stuff for years. And so I am so excited to create this episode. Now, if you would like to go even deeper on how to use Pinterest to grow your business, head to teachmetopin.com. I have a totally free class. Sometimes seeing is believing. And if you want to watch how I do what I'm teaching in today's episode and go way deeper on it, go to teachmetopin.com. You can watch my training on demand. It's totally free. Now, let's bust some Pinterest myths, shall we? Let's dive in. We're going to start off with a heavy-hitting myth to bust from the get-go. If you only listen to this one, you will walk away smarter when it comes to Pinterest. The first myth is this: Pinterest is just another social media platform, right? Like Instagram or TikTok. This is what I hear the most. And I would argue this is the biggest misconception. People often assume that Pinterest is another social media app, one where you have to show up and show your face and post in real time and do all the trends and engage constantly, but that couldn't be further from the truth. Pinterest isn't a social platform. It's a search engine, which means Pinterest works more like Google than Instagram. You actually want to approach Pinterest with more search engine optimized tactics than you would with trending topics on social media. Now, I don't really know why our brains love to group Pinterest in with the other platforms. I honestly blame on our websites where we have those little icons of like Facebook, Instagram, Pinterest, I feel like that has subconsciously set us up to believe that Pinterest is social media. But in reality, when you recognize and realize, hey, this is a search engine, I need to treat it like one, it not only changes the way you show up on the app, but it changes your entire approach. So it was so funny at this event, my friend who I love introduces me and says, here's Jenna. She's a social media expert, all these things. And so I'm sitting in this chair on stage and I interrupt and I'm like, hey, I really got to tell you, like, I don't love social media. I feel like social media keeps us on this treadmill. It creates so much guilt. It provokes anxiety. It creates shame. Like, we can sit there and like doom scroll on these platforms, but we feel like we have to stay plugged into them. And this is why I love Pinterest. In fact, I often argue that like I have to be on social media to meet you where you already are, and then to show you that there are ways to get off of it. And that is really like why I'm on social, is to meet people where they are and to get them off of it. Now, Pinterest is amazing because it doesn't care how often I post selfies, or I don't have to show up in stories. There are no DMs to manage there. It basically just wants your content, right? So if it's a search engine's goal is to help connect a user's query with a solution. And your content and what you create is the solution. And so Pinterest doesn't necessarily want to keep people on the platform like the social media platforms does. Pinterest wants to send people off and connect them to the resources that they are searching for. One thing that I think is so incredible about the platform is that Pinterest users perform over 6 billion with a B searches every single month. Now, unlike Instagram, these searches aren't for influencers, they're for ideas, solutions, and inspiration. And so why you have a better shot at finding success on Pinterest than Instagram is because people are going on there and they're open, right? They are so open for ideas, solutions, inspiration. They're not necessarily typing in Jenna Kutcher. They're typing in marketing tips for photographers or leveraging Pinterest as a business owner, right? 96% of searches of these 6 billion searches on Pinterest are unbranded, meaning people are open for new creators, new businesses, new products, and new offers. This is like a gold mine for all of us. And so the first thing you need to understand is you have to think of Pinterest basically like a visual Google. Your job isn't to be visible, it's to be discoverable, okay? Myth number 2 is this. People will say, well, Jenna, I pinned something once and nothing really happened, so this probably just doesn't work for me, right? Posting one pin is like printing one flyer and taping it to your fridge. Of course, it is not going to move the needle. Pinterest thrives on volume and variety, the 2 V's, volume and variety. So every piece of content that you create, whether it's an Instagram post, a blog post, a podcast episode, etc., every piece of content you create can turn into 5 or 10 or even 20, 30, 40, 50, an unlimited amount of pins using different headlines, different colors, and different images. Now, different pins are going to reach and appeal different audiences since you're using different keywords or maybe highlighting different parts of the source content. And so what you have to understand is that for every piece of content you create, you can create an unlimited amount of pins. And so if you have ever tried Pinterest and you have just posted one straight up pin from the content and you're like, well, nothing's happening. Yeah, no duh. And so one of the things that we do with Pinterest is we basically just created a system. So every single week in my business, for example, we have 2 podcast episodes and we have an additional blog post. So out of those 3 pieces of content alone, we are creating 30 different pins. Every podcast episode automatically turns into 10 pins using templates. And if you need to see this to believe it, go sign up for my free masterclass. You can literally watch it as soon as you're done listening to this episode at teachmetopin.com. I will literally show you how we take one single podcast episode and turn it into 10 pins in about 10 minutes. And so this is the way that we not only leverage our content and get more eyeballs on it, but we also collect super insightful data into what is converting, what are people clicking on, what headlines are working, what categories are working, what types of pins work. We even have posts that we created years and years and years ago that are still bringing traffic into my ecosystems using this strategy. So I have content that I created literally years ago, and it is still generating traffic without having to touch it ever again, right? It's just amazing. The average pin can generate clicks and traffic for over 13 months, okay? So think of it this way. When you post something on Instagram, it typically lives and dies within 24 to 48 hours, right? We're kind of used to this churn and burn mentality, and you don't even know what's going to work on that platform, right? It feels so unpredictable. The average pin can generate clicks and traffic for over 13 months. So would you rather spend your time on something that is going to live and die within the next 48 hours or something that will literally still be working for you without any extra effort on your part a year from now? For me, I'm going to always look at the ROI with the return on investment on my time, my energy, and 13 months totally beats 48 hours. So if you've pinned something and it didn't happen, you were probably missing a key part of the strategy. Again, we're focusing on being searchable, and we're also focusing on variety and volume when it comes to the platform. And let me tell you, don't let the volume thing freak you out, because creating a graphic using a template is way faster than creating a brand new piece of content every single day. Can I get an amen? All right, number 3, the third myth that I want to bust is this. People will often say, I thought that fresh content meant that I had to constantly create new stuff. So Pinterest loves and prioritizes what is called fresh content. And when you are bringing fresh content onto the platform, even if you just brought one fresh pin onto the platform per day, you would start to see massive results. We're not talking about brand new content. We're talking about a new pin image. So many creators burn out thinking that they have to constantly be generating new blogs, new freebies, new podcast episodes, new Instagram posts every single week just to stay relevant. But what's amazing about Pinterest is that on Pinterest, fresh just means a new visual or new copy, not necessarily a new idea. A new pin design counts even if it is linking to something old. So there is a very good chance that you who is listening to this episode right now, you are sitting on a gold mine of content that could absolutely crush it on Pinterest without you having to create new content. You could link to blog posts you wrote a year ago, 2 years ago. As long as that content is still relevant and makes sense, oh my gosh, go on with your bad self and get on the platform. And so one of the things that we do is we'll take one piece of content, so say one podcast episode, we'll create 10 different pins, and we just tweak the design in little ways. So we'll split test. Does it work better with a headshot of me on it or a stock image? Does it work better with the title of the episode or a different type of headline? Does it work better with pink as a background color or blue? And it is amazing, again, because we're getting so much insight into what is the most clickable design. And it's also an awesome way to revive old content. Like we'll often go into our Google Analytics, we'll see like, oh, this one blog post we wrote 2 years ago is still super relevant. We want to get more traffic there. How can we create fresh pin designs and send people to that piece of content? So you can literally raise your content from the dead using Pinterest just by creating quick pin graphics that are considered fresh. So to reiterate this point and to make it so crystal clear, a new image matched with an old URL is still considered fresh by Pinterest algorithm, meaning you can repin a 5-year-old blog post using a new pin design and you can totally see it take off. And let me just chime in here and interrupt my own self with this brainwave of most people are just consuming content on Pinterest, but all of these things that I'm talking about today rely on you switching from being a consumer to a creator on the platform. Most people don't understand that you can be a creator of pins, and every pin you create on the platform, you get to designate where it goes to. So when I say a new pin image to an old URL, you are the one setting all of that up. You can import in content and say, I want this pin to link to this post. And again, you can revive content that has lived and died on the vine and help it take off. and generate the types of results you had in mind when you first created it in the first place. So the main takeaway from this myth of I thought fresh content means I have to constantly create new stuff. Good news here is that you're probably sitting on a ton of content that could perform well on Pinterest, and you do not need to create more. You basically just need to take a tiny bit of strategy to optimize what you've already got and help it get you real results. All right, I'm going to hit pause for just a sec so we can thank our amazing sponsors who help keep this show running. But while we're on this quick break, I want for you to think of one friend or business bestie who's totally burning out because they're constantly creating new content. Trust me, you know the one. Send this episode to them because this next myth we're busting is one I really wish someone had told me sooner. You do not need to be on Pinterest all day in order to make it work. All right, we'll be right back. Okay, I've got to tell you about a podcast that I'm completely hooked on right now. It's called This is Small Business, and its brand new season explores one of my all-time favorite themes, taking bold risks. Hosted by the amazing Andrea Marquez, this season pulls you behind the curtain as she sits down with founders who transformed their maybe one day ideas into let's do this success stories. We're talking nail-biting moments, raw honesty about the hustle, and powerful advice that lights a fire in you. I got actual chills just listening to the trailer. Like every single story makes me pause and think, wow, we literally all start somewhere. And if you've ever felt that tug to take your next big leap, this season might be the exact push and confidence boost you've been waiting for. So do yourself a favor, follow This is Small Business on Apple Podcasts, Spotify, or wherever you listen. These stories will move you, motivate you, and remind you that courage is the first step towards chasing what really matters. When I first launched my own digital shop, it was to share tools I'd originally created for myself. Things like templates, pricing guides, editing presets. But I honestly had a lot of what ifs. What if I had to manually set up the entire site? What if managing orders became a full-time job? What if I couldn't get people to actually go to my shop? Then I found Shopify, and those what ifs slowly turned into why nots because Shopify takes care of everything for you. Shopify is the commerce platform behind millions of businesses around the world and 10% of all e-commerce in the US. From household names like Mattel and Gymshark to brands just getting started like mine once was. Can't design a site? Shopify's got beautiful, ready-to-go templates. Need help? Use Shopify's AI tools to enhance product images, write descriptions, and create discount codes. Worried about marketing? Shopify's easy-to-run email and social media campaigns helps you find your people. And if you ever get stuck, their award-winning support is available 24/7. Turn those dreams into and give them the best shot at success with Shopify. Sign up for your $1 per month trial and start selling today at shopify.com/goaldigger. Go to shopify.com/goaldigger. Shopify.com/goaldigger. All right. Myth number 4 is this. Don't I need to pin like 25 times a day to stay relevant on Pinterest? No, absolutely not. Pinterest rewards consistency, not chaos. You do not need to pin dozens of times every single day in order to get results and be effective. What I recommend is if you were to become a contributor, a creator on the platform, and you could just pin 1 to 2 fresh pins a day, you will get massively powerful results. Now, here's my favorite part about Pinterest. Unlike other platforms where you can get penalized for scheduling posts or you're not supposed to post and ghost, Pinterest is the exception. You can literally log into the platform once a week, schedule a few high quality pins to drop throughout the week, and get massive results. So I have somebody on my team who will take all the content that we created in the last week, generate pins from all that content using templates that we've created. She'll sit down once a week, log in, schedule our pins for the rest of the week, and then log off. This doesn't have to be you doing it. Your assistant or a team member could absolutely steal this process. I would argue that this would be the best hour of payroll you will spend throughout the week. If you're paying somebody $25, even $50 a week to take what you've already created and help it get a way longer shelf life, we're talking about turning minutes into months. Oh my gosh, best ROI of your time. Now, what we found is that by simply bringing just one pin onto the platform every single day, you can absolutely get traction. So we have students who are sitting on a gold mine of content, but maybe that gold mine isn't hundreds and thousands of blog posts. Maybe they have like 10 blog posts. They have created this rhythm where they're pinning just 1 to 2 pins a day. And we have found that that can absolutely move the needle. And the best part is, again, you can jump in, schedule, and automate all of them. You can either do it natively inside of the platform or use a platform like Tailwind and log in and log out. You don't have to engage. You don't have to respond to DMs. It is literally the best hour that you can spend a week. This is literally about setting it and forgetting it. Pinterest wants your ideas. They are not over here like fighting for your time, especially as a creator. So I just think that feels so much more in alignment of the type of life I want. And it also makes all of the work that I'm creating today feel worthy because I know it can still be generating results for me a year from now because of this simple process that we have in place. Okay. Myth number 5 is this. I get clicks from Pinterest, but those people don't buy anything. I would argue that this is one of the most damaging myths. So when you are leveraging a Pinterest strategy and you start to see traffic, awesome. Now, a lot of people that teach about Pinterest, they stop right at traffic. And I'm like, no. We've got to get to the gold. We want to turn traffic into treasure over here. Now, one thing to note about Pinterest users, and perhaps you are a user yourself and you can probably attest to this, is that Pinterest users are planners. When they click with purpose. And so if you're not seeing conversions yet, it's probably a funnel issue or the way that you've set up to optimize the place that they're landing, not necessarily a platform or a Pinterest issue. And so one of the things that we've gotten into practice is that we log into our Pinterest analytics and we are always looking at like, okay, where is the traffic going? And let's make sure that that blog post or that landing page or that webinar page or the sales page or the show notes, that it is optimized. You don't necessarily want to lead people just to information. You want to lead them to an invitation. The way that you turn traffic into treasure is by having the clear next step for them to take. And so we are constantly looking at, okay, where is traffic going? And then making sure that wherever somebody's landing, there's a very clear next step. There's a very clear invitation. And there are opportunities for them to really log into our ecosystem, right? We don't necessarily own Pinterest users, but once they are playing in our own sandbox, so to speak, we have the opportunity to capture their information and stay in touch with them. So the best way that we use Pinterest is to collect leads for our email list, where then we can serve people very well and then eventually sell to them. So while a lot of Pinterest users are there for the planning part of their process, there is a stat that you have to keep in mind. 83% of Pinterest users have made a purchase based on content from the platform. And so while some people are on there for planning purposes, others are on there to purchase. This is not just window shopping. This is like wallet out behavior. Like I have personally been on Pinterest the other day. I was looking for a specific red dress. Like I wanted a red linen V-neck dress. Like where else can you go? And this is proof that this is a search engine, right? So I'm just typing in all of the keywords that I can think of to describe what it is that's in my head. And I was discovering all these brands I had never even heard of. I straight up just bought a dress straight off of the platform. And so you have to understand that there's both planning behaviors and purchasing behaviors. The goal here to turn that traffic into treasure is to make sure that the destination that you designate on those pins is built to convert the people who are curious into customers, and just making sure that those things are optimized. Again, it's not necessarily a platform issue. It's probably a process issue. And that's where you have to get really clear. What is the next best step for somebody that lands here? Myth number 6 is I don't have a big audience, so Pinterest probably is not going to work for me. Now, here's what I love. Screw popularity when it comes to Pinterest. What a freaking breath of fresh air for all of us who have been through all the different phases of social media, trying to get to 10,000 followers, all the different things. Unlike most platforms, Pinterest does not care how many followers you have. It doesn't prioritize popularity. It prioritizes quality and relevance. So what does that mean for you? That means that even a brand new creator can get massive visibility on Pinterest. Now, what's interesting is that when I started on Pinterest, I did not have the following that I had today. I did not have a huge audience. People had no reason to follow me. But what we focused on and what we doubled down on was SEO, aka search engine optimization, treating it just like we would a visual Google, and strategy. And I wanted to really focus on consistency, knowing, hey, I don't have to have 1 million followers on here. This is reaching people that are searching for what it is that I create. And so one stat that you have to keep in mind is that pins from accounts with under 1,000 followers can still rank on the first page of Pinterest search. Follower count is practically irrelevant as you are entering this journey. So you are not too late to start using Pinterest. You don't have to go out and try to scrounge up a bunch of followers. Followers will organically start following you if they find themselves pinning your content consistently. But when you think about the path from pin to purchase, following you as an account creator isn't a critical step. Therefore, popularity doesn't necessarily matter on this platform. And I freaking love that. I think it is amazing. I see so many brand new creators absolutely crushing it on Pinterest because they are focused more on SEO and strategy and less on just trying to scream to the masses and reach them. I had my friend Kate on this podcast and we were talking about Pinterest. And one thing I love that she said is she's like, social media is like a crowded bar where you are just like yelling above the noise and hoping you meet the right people. And she said, Pinterest is like a library where people go in, they're curious, they kind of know what they already want, and they're open to suggestions. And I was like, yes. Like bring me to all the libraries in this day and age. And so you don't have to have this belief that you're too late. You don't have to wait until you're, quote, big enough. Pinterest rewards the smart, not just the popular. And I think that this is what we are secretly craving in our lives. Time for a quick breather so I can shout out today's incredible sponsors. Now, while you're listening, I want for you to take a second and think about content that you already have that could be repurposed on Pinterest. I'm talking things you've already created that could be working for you and reaching your people right now while you're listening to this episode. Stay with me and we'll dive right back in. This message is sponsored by Greenlight. As a mom, I've been thinking a lot about how to teach my kids real money lessons. The other day, I took them to Target and Coco picked out a toy. She had her little purse with her, so I pulled out the amount of money she would need to spend in order to buy that toy to help her make her decision. But let's be honest, as a mom, carrying around a kid's purse with $50 in change is not fun. So I started researching better ways to teach her about money, and that's how I found Greenlight. Greenlight is a debit card and money app for families that helps kids learn to save, spend, and invest wisely, with parents always staying in control. I love that you can assign chores, send money to their kid wallet, and keep an eye on how they use it. It turns everyday moments into money lessons that stick. Greenlight is the easy, convenient way for parents to raise financially smart kids and for families to navigate life together. Maybe that's why millions of parents trust and kids love learning about money on Greenlight, the #1 family finance and safety app. Don't wait to teach your kids real-world money skills. Start your risk-free Greenlight trial today at greenlight.com/goaldigger. That's greenlight.com/goaldigger to get started. greenlight.com/goaldigger. We've been eyeing up some new furniture pieces for our lake house, and we have been loving Cozy because their furniture is amazing. Like, it's so hard to choose because we love their vibe. It is clean, cozy, and modern, and it's seriously made for real life. With a brand new puppy and 2 kiddos who love to climb on everything and snacks that somehow get everywhere, we need furniture that adapts to us, not the other way around. And Cozy gets that. They make everyday home furnishings easy. Their pieces are modern, adaptable, and worry-free, which is honestly a dream when you are juggling a puppy and kids and just everyday life. What I love most about Cozy is how it opens up new home possibilities. Their modular designs literally grow with your life. Like, you can add and rearrange or swap pieces as you need. And they have washable covers, which make cleanup feel so much more doable. It's your home, your way, and Cozy makes it all feel effortless. From easy assembly to mixing and matching styles, Cozy makes everything easy. I've never been more excited to cozy up. And yes, this pun is very much intended. Transform your living space today with Cozy. Visit cozy.com, spelled COZEY.com, the home of possibilities made easy. Nothing makes me happier than doing work that energizes me. And I've always been committed to that, not just for myself, but for my entire team.
That's why I'm so excited about the Working Genius model. It's a powerful tool that helps you discover your natural strengths and where you thrive in your work. When you tap into what you're naturally good at, work becomes more rewarding and you get so much more done. Honestly, I wasn't sure what to expect when I took the Working Genius assessment, but it blew me away with how accurate and insightful it was. It affirmed that I am naturally gifted at using my intuition and instincts to evaluate and assess ideas or plans. And it also confirmed my love for self-starters and the fact that I can get frustrated if I have to be the main source of motivation for other people to get results. The assessment only takes 10 minutes and it's great for solopreneurs and teams alike. Imagine with me how effortless your teamwork will be if you understand the working geniuses of those that you're working with. Working Genius is different from everything else out there because it's 20% personality and 80% productivity. Simply put, if you want to transform your work life, this is it. Get 20% off the $25 Working Genius assessment. Head to workinggenius.com and enter the promo code GoalDigger at checkout. That's workinggenius.com, promo code GoalDigger.
Myth number 7 is my people aren't even on Pinterest. Now, let me tell you this. If your audience uses Google, they are on Pinterest. Many users find Pinterest pins through Google image results or embedded searches, and they don't even realize that they're using the platform. So I remember when I first started on Pinterest. Now, this is back in the day before the podcast, before the courses, before the book, before everything. I was a wedding photographer in Wisconsin. And this is when I got my start on Pinterest because of my amazing virtual assistant. Her name is Caitlin. She was my first hire ever. I hired her part-time reluctantly. I was white knuckling my business, doing all the things on my own. And the first day that I met her, we sat down in a coffee shop and she said, "How are you using Pinterest?" And I was like, "I'm using it for recipes. I'm using it for wardrobe. I'm using it to plan my house, all these things." And she laughs and she's like, no. How are you using it for your business?" Now, at the time, I was a local based wedding photographer, right? I was shooting weddings in the Madison and Milwaukee area in Wisconsin. And I just could not connect the dots as to how somebody would find me on Pinterest and book me for their wedding. And so she had this hunch. She's like, "You have so many gorgeous wedding images. Pinterest is amazing for weddings. Let me just try to take what you've already created and see if I can get some traction on Pinterest." Well, turns out she was brilliantly right. Now, one of the things that helped so much is as we started to see the traction, I started to think about, okay, what are my ideal clients typing into the search bar, right? They're typing in 5 best wedding venues in Milwaukee. They're typing in perfect wedding day schedule for Wisconsin summer. They're typing in all of these keywords. And so it totally shifted the way that I was creating content, trying to answer my ideal clients' questions before they could even ask them. And I recognized that while a lot of brides were using Pinterest to plan, in their planning, they were finding me and they were being exposed to my work, and I was at the top of their list. And so if you are listening to this and you're like, "Well, I don't create digital resources or I don't sell online courses," Pinterest can work whether you are a local based business, whether you are a product-based business, a service-based business, a digital business. I've seen it work for every type of business. Pinterest has over 570 million monthly active users. That includes everyone from moms to marketers to men planning their home gyms. I mean, even my dad is on Pinterest. He recently learned how to sew upholstery for his hot rod, which is like his old car. And he was on Pinterest looking up designs. He's used it for garage organization. So if my dad, who's in his upper 60s, is using Pinterest, there's a very, very, very good chance that your audience is already using it and they're already searching on there. They're just not finding your content because you haven't been a creator on the platform yet. So the goal here is your people are searching. You just need to make sure that you show up in the results for the things that they're searching for that you can solve. Myth number 8 is Pinterest is just for bloggers and lifestyle influencers. This myth is so outdated. Pinterest is for anyone solving a problem. If you are an entrepreneur, you are likely solving a problem, right? Whether you are a course creator, a service provider, podcaster, e-commerce shops, there is room for all of us on the platform, and you will find all types of businesses on the platform already. And so what's amazing is that you can use any type of content. You do not have to be a blogger. You do not have to be a lifestyle influencer. You do not have to have perfect images. One fun fact that we found is that because Pinterest users are searching and they're using unbranded searches, meaning again, they're not typing in Jenna Kutcher, Posts with stock photos actually outperform posts with photos of me because they don't know who I am yet, right? I just love that because as I've gotten older and as I've gotten a little bit more private, I don't necessarily want to be the face behind everything. We have so much content. And so it's refreshing to be on a platform where it's like, you don't have to do the song and dance. You don't have to show up smiling and looking at the camera every day. People care more about the content than the creator. And I just think that that's so powerful. One thing that I think is so interesting is Pinterest now ranks as the #1 traffic source for many non-blog businesses, including digital product sellers and podcasters. And so gone are the days where like you have to link to blog posts or you have to have perfect lifestyle images that will perform well on Pinterest. People are on there searching for solutions. They want to be led to landing pages. They want to be led to websites. They want to be led to contact forms and quizzes. And so there are so many different places you can lead people to as you designate where you're going to take them on that journey. If your content helps someone, which hopefully it does, trust me when I say it belongs on Pinterest. And if you're someone who you're like, I don't want to have to be the face of my brand and company, I don't want to have to be doing the trending dances and the audios, Pinterest is a place for you. Trust me when I say that. Myth number 9 is I don't have time to learn another platform. Pinterest is one of the few places where you can spend a literal hour per week and still drive traffic for a year. Remember, keep that stat in mind. It's just so mind-blowing to me that you can create a pin that could take you a minute or two using a template, and that single graphic pointing to your content can still be driving results for you a year from now. It is not another app. It is a long-term machine for traffic, for leads, for results. Like I could literally shut my business down right now, today, and I would still be getting results a year from now, or even more than that, just from the work that I've done. I recently had a friend that reached out to me and she goes, Jenna, I hate to say it, but you told me so. And she said, for a while, we had gotten into Pinterest and honestly, things got busy. We went into a launch. I kind of forgot about it. We just logged in and she said, Pinterest is the most forgiving platform of all time because the work that we did a year ago is still working today. And she's like, I can't believe it. I can't believe I hadn't even logged in to look at that, but it's still working for us. It's still sending us traffic. Now she is doubling down on that. And I just kind of had to smile and laugh and be like, yeah, I did tell you so. But how cool is it that it has literally been working behind the scenes while you live your life, while you be a mom to your kids, and while you work on your new offers. So again, just the half-life of a pin is over 13 months. And compare that to a tweet that literally lives and dies within 24 minutes or a Facebook post that dies within 5 hours. A pin will usually get half of its overall engagement within the first 13 months. So if you are someone who you're like, I want to be in business a year from now or 5 years from now or a decade from now, and you're not leveraging Pinterest, oh my gosh, this is the easiest switch to results that you've ever experienced. A little effort on this platform can go a very long way. And the fact that you can batch your work, schedule it, and then let it work for you while you go out and live your life, like what is better than that? All right. This brings me to my final myth, which is it's too late. It's too late to get started on Pinterest. I mean, how many of us walk through life thinking it's too late for all the things? Pinterest isn't a trend. It's a tool. So unlike social media platforms that peak and fade, Pinterest is a search engine. As long as people are searching, there is opportunity. I come from the school of belief that it is never too late. There have been so many times in my career where I thought like, ooh, I am behind the wagon. Like I did not jump on fast enough. This is not one of those. Pinterest isn't going anywhere. In fact, it is still growing, especially among Gen Z and male users. Gen Z is the platform's fastest growing demographic, making up 42% of their global user base. And so Pinterest is just continually growing. It is not too late. You can absolutely start today. Now, the best time to start was a year ago, but the second best time is today. I have been talking about Pinterest for about the last 7 years. And if you have not jumped on it yet, hear me when I say it is not too late. Remember, it is a search engine. It operates so much differently than social media. You do not have to go out and try to get 1 million followers. You do not have to send 1 million DMs. You don't have to post Instagram stories. You don't even have to post your face to find success. This is why I am obsessed with Pinterest. Now, these myths aren't harmless misunderstandings. Here's what I'd argue. These myths that you are busy believing about Pinterest, they are costing you your reach. They are costing your results. They are costing you real traffic. If you have ever been in business and you've had the thought of like, if I build it, they will come, you absolutely know that is not true. When you build something, you have to send people to what you've built. And I will argue that Pinterest is not a chore. It is your secret weapon. Once you understand what it really is, how it actually works, you are able to unlock one of the most underused, high converting platforms out there. I will sing it until I am blue in the face. Pinterest is a place I could go. If I only had 1 hour a week to market my business, you better believe that it would go to Pinterest. It takes me over an hour. I think the average stat is that it takes somebody around 2 hours to create one Instagram reel. And how many of us have done it and then like the app crashes or you lose the edits or it posts and it gets all funky when you post it, or you post it and nobody even sees it in the first place. And so I want for you to understand that there is a different way. There's a better way. There's a way that reflects your ideal, that time is your currency, and that gives you the best return on investment on your precious time. And if after today's episode, you're like, all right, you sold me, I am all in. If you want to go even deeper into the Pinterest strategy that I just talked about, I want for you to join me for my free on-demand masterclass. It is called Create Once, Get Traffic for Months. I will walk you through how to use Pinterest to extend the life of your content, how to build a business that runs even when you're not constantly posting. You can save your seat right now. I will show you and walk you through how to take one piece of content and turn it into 10 different pins. I'll show you the templates that work for us. You need to go. Seeing is believing. Go to teachme2pin.com. That's teachme2pin.com. I hope you loved today's episode. To circle back on the final story here, at the end of my speech, my friend who first introduced me as a social media expert became a Pinterest evangelist. This man had not taken a single month off of work since he first started his entrepreneurial journey over a decade ago. And his team is now utilizing the Pinterest strategies, and he is on his first ever sabbatical because he knows right now that the work that is being done will continue to work for him, his brand, and his business. So if you want to get back to your life, if you want a business that doesn't take over your life but fuels it, I will argue Pinterest is it for you. I hope you loved today's episode. Thank you so much for tuning in. I hope you loved the myths we busted, and I hope you see Pinterest through a new light. Until next time, Goal Diggers, keep on digging your biggest goals. And thank you so much for listening to this episode of the Goal Digger Podcast. Thanks for pulling up a seat for another episode of the Goal Digger Podcast. I hope today's episode fueled you with inspiration, gave you information that you can turn into action, and realigned you with your true north in life and business. If you've enjoyed today's episode, head on over to goaldiggerpodcast.com for today's show notes, discount codes for our sponsors, freebies to fuel your results, and so much more. And if you haven't yet, make sure you're subscribed so that you never miss a future show. We'll see you next time, Goal Diggers.